So guys, recently at the Labour Party conference, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, who's newly appointed, has announced changes to the immigration system, and in particular to something called ILR, which means indefinite leave to remain. Now, indefinite leave to remain is usually granted to people who come here legally and have lived here for a certain amount of time under different visas. So if you come here married to a British citizen under a spouse visa, you get your indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. If you come here on a work permit, as a work permit holder or as a business visa holder running a business here, then you get that indefinite leave after 5 years to remain. After you lived here for 5 years. If you're an EU citizen and you register under the EU settlement scheme, then you get settled status, which is a form of indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. However, recently the government in May has announced that it was going to renew this, and now this month they've announced the changes. One of the major changes announced, which hasn't come into force yet but looks like it will, is raising this 5-year period to 10 years. Meaning somebody would have to be here 10 years as a spouse of a British citizen or on a work permit in order to qualify for indefinite leave to remain. Also, she's announced that English language requirement will be moved to a high standard. Now, high standard, we don't know what it is. She hasn't defined that. Currently, you have to do a Life in a UK test, which is a multiple choice test. This is a test that a lot of, when British people took it, they failed the infamous test. And to a B1 test separately, a standard level test, which goes from A1 being lowest, A2, B1, B2, etc. Going up. So you have to pass it as a B1. So the level is pretty high at the moment anyway of a B1, but it looks like they'll raise it possibly to a B2 or even a C1 later on in order to qualify so that your English level is high. Another announcement is that you must have a clean criminal record, a spotless criminal record, in fact, as Shabana says.
We will soon increase the time in which someone must have lived in this country to earn indefinite leave to remain from 5 years to 10. I will be proposing a series of new tests, such as being in work, making national insurance contributions, not taking a penny in benefits, learning English to a high standard, having no criminal record.
Which means absolutely no offences against you. But that's currently the case anyway, that if you have a criminal record, you can be refused your indefinite leave to remain. But once again, she's just reiterated spotless. So maybe that includes fines or speeding points, which currently can be ignored under the discretionary system that we have. Now, the other new thing which is announced, and this is interesting, you must have done some community service, some voluntary service to help a cause in Britain. So what form or shape this will take, we don't know yet, but we're assuming it's some charitable service or helping maybe fundraising or for some causes or taking part in some charity marathons. We don't know yet what that is, but that currently isn't a requirement under the rules. So this is something new that Shabana Mahmood hopes to introduce. Another aspect is that you must have made national insurance contributions, or you must have a job offer, or possibly have been working. Now, national contributions can be made even if you're not working. So that's important. So that will probably be required. And the fact that you must have a job offer. How that's going to work with, say, women who come over here and say have 2 kids in 5 years, and how they're expected to manage 2 kids and have a job offer, despite the fact that a spouse provides for them, we don't know exactly yet. She also said that it would be a requirement not for the migrant not to have claimed any benefits, which is pretty much the case anyway at the moment, that they shouldn't have claimed any benefits on the visas that were issued to migrants, or the e-visas now issued to migrants. It actually says no recourse to public funds. So they're not able to take public funds. So let's break it down as to how effective will it be and how different it will be from the current system. So no claim for benefits. A lot of migrants don't claim benefits anyway. The figures state that there's currently 4.5 million people in the UK on indefinite leave to remain, but only 430,000 of them are not from the EU, are non-EU. So say from other countries. The other 4 million are from the EU. So the EU makes the bulk of people on indefinite leave to remain. Now, in order to get indefinite leave to remain, you can't be on benefits currently anyway. So that's one of the conditions. You have to have an English knowledge. As I said, life in the UK test and a B1 test. You don't have to do any community service, so that's new. If you're working and you're not on benefits, then you have to pay your national insurance contribution. But currently, even if you're not working, as long as you're not on benefits, you can still get your indefinite leave to remain. You might be the dependent of somebody, or you might be the spouse of a British citizen, and your partner therefore has to work and pay the contributions on your behalf. In relation to criminal records, you currently need to be clear from any criminal record anyhow. However, minor offences such as parking offences and fines and road traffic offences can be ignored. We don't know if that's going to be the case now under this new rule. So the main change here, the game changer, is going to be the 5 years to 10 years. Will that put people off coming here? What Labour are hoping to do is to slow down the rate of net migration. Net migration is the number of people who come here to live permanently. Take away the number of people who leave the UK permanently. So that figure has been rising and rising. So Labour intend to slow that down. So anybody who's going to get indefinite leave to maybe in 5 years' time will now have to wait an extra 5 years. And that will have an impact on the figures coming out.